things that aid and abet the alien, right?
Right.
But he does them in a clever manner that does not immediately seem 100% apparent that he's trying to aid and abet the alien. It just seems like he's got weird priorities, and like he doesn't seem to care about the rest of the crew's safety that much. He cares more about like protocol and like scientific discovery and stuff like that. So it's not painfully apparent that he's an asshole. He just kind of seems like a guy that did things that then led to bad things. But later in the movie, it's cleverly put together that it's not just random chance that made the things that he did lead to bad things or like whatever. He actually knew, and it's pointed out by the fact that, you know, he's actually one of those androids, and he was actually programmed by the company to bring back an alien, and that the crew was expendable. So he doesn't care about any of them because he's an android, so he doesn't have any conscience, right? And he's just going on orders, right?
Right.
So that's the story of that one. In this one, I guess they wanted to do a thing kind of like that, except they never explain why he does any of the things that he does. And really, he has no reason to. There's no reason. There's no motivation ever presented for him to be an asshole. And he's just kind of randomly an asshole. He kind of helps them sometimes. Other times he doesn't. He's always doing stuff behind their backs. But why he's so secretive and why he's acting like there's some weird agenda, like they seem to try to make it out like he's doing things for his boss, like the guy that made him, but then it's never explained why his boss would want any of those things done. Why does he want to kill a bunch of the scientists or release a bunch of the creatures on the thing? There's no reason for him to want that. If you wanted the scientists dead, you could have not brought them on the mission. Because it's your mission, and you hired these people and brought them.
Yeah, what you do is you wake up and crash the ship into an asteroid.
Yeah, that would have been fast.
While they're asleep.
So, there's no reason for him to want to infect any of them or fuck around. Like, it's really in his best interest to keep everything orderly, because basically what the guy that made him wants, he's like an old man. He's like the guy that started that Wayland Corp or whatever. He wants to meet the space jockeys and talk to God, basically, and maybe even they'll know some way to keep him alive or, like, fix his oldness or something like that. He's got, you know, he doesn't know, but he's desperate. He's old. He's about to die. So he's like, whatever, freeze me, bring me on the ship. Maybe the space jockeys can bring me back to life. Even if they can't, at least I'll get to talk to God. I'm a big, powerful, rich guy, and my riches are going to allow me to talk to God, a thing that no one's ever done, so I'm going to be like this big, rich guy and do this. Why is Michael Fassbender infecting people with viruses without their knowledge and, like, trying to, like, freeze up people that have aliens implanted inside of them and this stuff? Like, none of it makes any sense. There's no reason for him to do any of the things that he does. And Michael Fassbender gives a good performance. He plays a really believable android guy, and he seems really cool, and he's got kind of, like, neat kind of like android-like traits, like, you know, like sort of like Data and stuff like that we've seen in the past. And it's interesting, but nothing he does has any kind of payoff or has any reason why he was doing it. Like, he just seems like he's there to do stuff so that alienish stuff happens during the movie. Like, yeah, we want some guy to get a virus, and we want this chick to have to pull this alien out of her that's in her belly, and, like, we want all this stuff to happen, but we're not going to come up with any reasons for it to happen. It's just the android did stuff that made it happen. Well, okay.
Let me take a look at something really quick. RottenTomatoes.com, Prometheus, 74% fresh. It's getting good reviews, buddy.
It's terrible.
So what's your deal?
Terrible movie.
And the audience is also agreeing with 74%.
I guess I hate movies.
They like it.
A lot of people like The Phantom Menace, dude. The Phantom Menace got really good reviews, and The Phantom Menace was frequently said by audiences to be a good movie. I guess I have the same problem that Red Letter Media does, which is when I have to question or when it's worse than that in this movie. When everything a character or characters in the movie do makes no sense, doesn't what those characters would do, to the point that it seems like the opposite of what they would do. Like, it's not even like, these characters aren't believable. It's stuff like, an archaeologist is sad that he found a planet full of ruins, and thinks he can't get any answers now. Like, it's just stuff that just doesn't make any... It's like it's not that it doesn't make any sense. That doesn't seem like the right way to describe it. People do things that are the opposite of what is set up for them. Like, the complete opposite. Things are completely wrong. Instead of just being kind of, like, weak or, like, not pushed in the right direction, they're the complete polar opposite of what they should be in multiple parts of this movie. The map guy is lost. The archaeologist doesn't like that all he has is a bunch of dead things and millions of artifacts to examine and study. Like, everything. Every part of it is like that.
Well, I guess that concludes the Prometheus portion of of our podcast. And man, that was a big portion.
It's a portion.
I love basically everything that you put together here for us today in your presentation. Be sure to include the PowerPoint when you post this on the internet.
So man, when that movie ended, I took a second to suck in air, like when the credits started, like when it did the final bwah, and it only does the bwah one time in the movie. Like, you know, in the trailers, it always goes bwah.
Yeah.
It does that once in the movie, I think.
Vaughn makes that noise a lot, like, just to annoy me.
Maybe I was too, like, mesmerized by the shittiness of the rest of the movie to, like, notice the other ones, but I really noticed the final one, like, right as the credits go, it goes bwah, and, that almost won me back. Like, that almost won me over. I almost enjoyed the movie because they ended it on a big, solid bwah. But, it sadly, like the visuals of the movie, which are very cool, it wasn't enough to win over the shitfest that was the rest of the content in the movie. So it ended, I breathed in a suck of air, and then I said at the top of my lungs while turning over to the people that were there with me, I went, woof! Like, as loud as I could. And then, I was laughing, and there was some laughing, and then the other people that were there with me all agreed. They all agreed it was the shittiest thing they've ever seen. And, I said, woof, and then I said, you fell off, Scott. And then, referring to Ridley Scott.
Yes.
And then, we were laughing, and then we were just like, Steve, who was there with me, was just like, I can't remember what part of the scene he was talking about, but he was just like, what the fuck was going on? And a lot of them had problems that I didn't even have because they seemed so minor in comparison to the big logical character fallacies, but like, a lot of them had a problem with the fact that there's a woman who she gets into this like surgical thing and cuts her stomach open to pull this alien baby out of her because she doesn't want an alien baby in her. And then it staples her back up.
Yeah.
And then she's in pain for the rest of the movie, and she's always, like, shooting herself up with painkillers and stuff like that. But she still basically stumbles around and does, like, action movie-ish things.
Yeah.
And they're just like, you just cut your abdominals in half. Like, you shouldn't be able to stand up. You should be hunched over all of the time. And pretty much unable to really do anything, like, especially, like, climb up things or, like, anything. You should be fucked.
Yeah.
You should really kind of stumble around. And she kind of stumbles around, and she seems like she's hurt all the time, but, like, I don't know, it's totally retarded.
This film sounds the same as Battleship, which is getting a 34% and has made $2.3 million at the box office. Prometheus has made $50 million.
I've heard things that Battleship is not that bad. I've heard that it's a stupid movie and whatever, but I don't think that it has any of these things in it where it's just like, there's a difference between a stupid thing happening or, like, stupid ideas or whatever. Well, it's like that thing I was talking about. Like, you have that character, that big strong guy going like, what, are you afraid of this cute alien? And then, like, the alien is actually a scary thing in it. And, like, it bites him. That's a dumb thing to put into a movie that I would roll my eyes at, but it makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a thing. Like, it follows. It's not just completely crazy. This movie is just completely crazy.
I lied, by the way. It made $2 million this week. It's actually made $59 million in America. Battleship has. So ignore what I said, but still.
Battleship didn't do that well, but I mean, I don't know. What were they expecting? Like, they made a fucking movie called Battleship, and then released it in the same summer season as The Avengers and Prometheus, and, like, The Dark Knight Rises comes out soon. Like, I'm sorry, like, you can make